These are the oldest large-scale stone sculptures ever found in the Western Mediterranean. 32 giants, carved from single blocks of limestone, were deliberately smashed and buried face down in Sardinian soil 3,000 years ago. Over 5,000 fragments. No writing, no record of who made them. The civilization responsible built thousands of stone towers across an entire island. When a farmer's plow struck one of these faces in 1974, what followed was not celebration. It was decades of silence. On March 28, 1974, Battista Melli was plowing a field near Cabra when his tractor jolted to a stop. Lodged in the soil was a limestone block, heavier than any ordinary stone. What Melli had struck was not a boulder, but the shattered face of a statue, soon identified as part of a lost world. Within days, Alessandro Bedini from the superintendency arrived, documenting the field with meticulous notes and sketches. As the soil was peeled back, stone slabs and more fragments surfaced, evidence of a burial ground disturbed by time and machinery alike. Over the next 4 years, a series of short but intense excavations pulled 5,178 fragments from the earth, their combined weight topping 9 tons. The pieces ranged from battered heads to twisted torsos and broken arms, some no bigger than a fist, others nearly human size. Bedini's field diaries and inventory ledgers from 1975 to 1979 tracked every find, each entry a tally in a growing ledger of mystery. 17 tombs were opened, their contents recorded, but the real shock was the volume. Crates upon crates filled and sealed, then shipped to the National Archaeological Museum of Cagliari. Once the fieldwork ended, the fragments vanished from public view. For decades, thousands of pieces sat boxed in museum storage, out of sight and largely out of mind. No restoration, no display, not even a plan. The weight of the discovery, literal and metaphorical, was buried again, this time under bureaucracy and indifference. The magnitude of what had been unearthed was clear, but for years, no one was willing to face the puzzle head-on. Limestone, quarried from Monte Arci 16 kilometers away, forms the core of every statue. Each giant was carved from a single block, standing between 2 and 2.5 meters tall, with an average weight close to 300 kilograms. The sheer logistics of hauling such mass across the Sinus Plain, then shaping it into human form, speak to a society with advanced organization and technical skill. 3 distinct figures emerge from the fragments. Boxers gripping curved shields and wearing gauntlets, archers with tall crested helmets and bows, and warriors armed with short swords and round shields. Each type carries its own signature, but all share the same haunting eyes, pairs of perfectly incised concentric circles. Under magnification, no central point or compass mark appears, suggesting a method of geometric precision still not fully explained. Some researchers propose a rotating jig, others a freehand mastery lost to time. Traces of red ochre pigment linger on lips, eyebrows, and helmet rims, confirmed by pigment analysis and portable X-ray fluorescence. These statues were not left in bare stone, but painted, their original colors now reduced to microscopic residues. Photogrammetry and petrographic studies link the stone directly to the Griglietto quarry, reinforcing the evidence for a coordinated operation from extraction to final carving. Beyond their mass and form, the giants' visual language stands apart. No other sculptures in the Western Mediterranean display this combination of size, concentric eyes, and martial detail. Each statue, once anonymous rubble, now stands as a singular artifact, the work of hands, both highly skilled and culturally distinct. After the last crates arrived at the National Archaeological Museum of Cagliari in late 1979, the Monte Prama fragments entered a bureaucratic limbo. For nearly 30 years, over 5,000 catalogued pieces languished in storage, their numbers logged in accession ledgers but rarely handled. Internal museum memos from the 1980s and the 1990s describe a backlog that grew as staff positions went unfilled and priorities shifted to more familiar Roman and Punic collections. By 1983, an audit revealed that almost a third of the fragments remained unprocessed, with no timetable for restoration. Letters between the museum and the Ministry of Cultural Heritage, dated March 1990 and November 1994, show requests for funding denied on the grounds of insufficient scientific justification. The site's significance, widely recognized by field archaeologists, failed to sway administrators in Rome. For the public, the statues effectively vanished, boxed in a basement, their story reduced to a footnote in annual reports. Only in 2005 did a regional grant finally break the deadlock, closing the funding gap and allowing the first systematic conservation effort. Until then, the weight of Sardinia's most extraordinary discovery was measured not in stone, but in years lost to institutional neglect. Restoration began not with grand gestures, but with painstaking labor and a willingness to embrace both tradition and technology. The Archaeological Conservation Center's team, assembled in 2005, faced a challenge unlike any in European archaeology: more than 1,000 limestone fragments, each with its own scars and story, none guaranteed to fit another. Digital photogrammetry provided the first breakthrough. Every surface, edge, and break line was scanned at high resolution, producing a three-dimensional archive that allowed conservators to test virtual joins before risking the stone itself. CT scans revealed hidden cracks and old repairs, guiding the placement of internal supports and ensuring that each piece could bear its own weight once again. Manual work followed, often resembling a giant three-dimensional puzzle. Conservators studied tool marks and pigment traces, matching pieces as much by the rhythm of a chisel as by the contours of a broken arm or shield. Over 6 years, 1,202 fragments were successfully matched, resulting in the reassembly of 25 statues and 13 neurology models. Each join was recorded, each adhesive chosen for reversibility, every intervention logged in the ACC's meticulous conservation reports. By 2011, the restored giants stood together for the first time in centuries, their forms no longer scattered, but whole enough to study, interpret, and display. The project's technical achievements were recognized across Europe, earning the Europa Nostra Award for Cultural Heritage in 2015, a rare moment when Sardinia's lost giants were celebrated not just as relics, but as a triumph of conservation science. The statues did not simply fall or erode with time, they were systematically attacked. Heads were hacked off, faces smashed beyond recognition, and the signature concentric eyes were deliberately gouged out. Forensic analysis of break lines shows a repeated pattern: decapitation at the neck, followed by targeted blows to the face and helmet. This wasn't random collapse or weathering. Archaeologists point to damnatio memoriae, a practice meant to erase identity and memory, as a possible motive. But the evidence leaves room for debate. Some see signs of conquest, linking the violence to Carthaginian or Phoenician expansion. Others argue for internal strife, a civil reckoning among neuralgic groups themselves. A third possibility suggests ritual decommissioning, a controlled destruction as part of shifting religious or political power. The truth remains buried with the statues. Each fractured face is an open question, each missing eye a challenge to understand who or what was being erased. Egyptian reliefs at Medinet Habu, carved around 1150 BCE, depict warriors labeled SRDN, the Shardana, wearing horned helmets and carrying round shields. These images, strikingly similar to the martial iconography of the Monte Prama giants, have fueled arguments for a direct link between Sardinia and the so-called Sea Peoples. The Nora stone, a Phoenician inscription from southern Sardinia, bears the consonants SRDN, often cited as the earliest written reference to the island and possibly its people. Yet, the case remains circumstantial. Isotope analysis published in 2025 traced the copper in neuralgic bronzes to local Sardinian ore, not distant sources, suggesting an independent metallurgical tradition. While the visual and material parallels are compelling, no definitive evidence confirms the giants as Shardana. Most researchers caution that shared motifs may reflect a broader Mediterranean exchange rather than a single ethnic identity. In 2022, a modest €85,000 grant funded new excavations at Monte Prama, uncovering fragments of 3 more statues that had lain undisturbed for centuries. Despite this breakthrough, the site's future remains uncertain. All the giants, restored and newly discovered, are now housed in Cabras, yet the necropolis itself remains fenced off, its secrets accessible only to researchers. The first comprehensive English-language book on the statues appeared in 2023, nearly 50 years after their discovery, highlighting a gap that has kept the giants invisible in global scholarship. Visitor numbers to Sardinian archaeological sites still lag far behind those at mainland attractions, a disparity that reflects both limited funding and a lack of international attention. Project leaders from the University of Cagliari and Sassari continue to push for broader recognition, aiming for a full public display of all statues by 2026. The story of Monte Prama is unfinished, a call for support as much as a record of what has been achieved. Today, the Monte Prama giants stand restored, yet their makers remain unnamed, no inscription, no consensus. As Sardinia's ancient legacy still sits on the margins of global history, the real scandal is silence. Truth can be buried for centuries, but neglect keeps it hidden far longer. Share your thoughts below.